Buddhaṃ 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 vande Dhammang 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 vande Sanghang 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 vande Buddhaṃ dhammang sanghang vande. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dhamma, homage to the Sangha, homage to the Triple Gem. Namo Tansa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tansa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Anto Jāta Bahi Jāta Jātaya Jātitha Pajat Tantang Gotama Punchami Ko imang vijataye jatang Sile patittaya naro sapanyo Chintang panyanca bhavayam Atapinipako bhikkhun So imang vijataye jatanti. Homage to the exalted one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends in Dhamma, all of you are warmly welcome. Today we are going to discuss one of the discourses in Buddhism. It names Jāta Sutta. Jāta means name of a person, Brahma. In Buddha's time, in India, there were 4 castes: Brahmana, Sastriya, Vaishya, Shudra. 4 castes. And among them, Brahmans were in the higher level. Sastriya, the second level, they ruled countries, places. Vaishya, who were merchants. Shudra were servants of others, other 3 castes. Brahmana's duty was teaching others, and they spend a religious life, spiritual life, like clergy people. First of all, I would like to explain some main topics, main doctrines in Buddhism. Buddha explains the gradual path of purification of one's mind. We do everything in the name of happiness. Buddhism explains the path, how we develop our inner peace, happiness. People in the world, ordinary people, they think that their happiness depends on their money, their fame, and their work in life. Buddhism also encourages us to go forward on money, fame, and working. But Buddhism explains our real happiness depends on not these 3 things. Our happiness completely depends on how far we have purified our mind. Even though we are very rich, even though we have high fame, even though we work hard, if our mind is polluted with anger, lust, ignorance, everything that we earned is useless. Therefore, our inner peace is first. It is very important than other things. That is why Buddhism always encourages us to purify our mind. We should understand what are the negative thoughts, unwholesome mental states that disturb our peace of mind. All negative thoughts, unwholesome mental states can be included into three. As we mentioned before, they are lust or craving, anger or hatred or ill will, and third one is delusion or ignorance. In Pali language, Pali, Buddha's language, Pali, it is an ancient language in India. Buddha explain, and in Pali they say as Lobha, Dosa, Moha. Lobha means craving, Dosa means anger, Moha means delusion. And little by little, we should eradicate negative thoughts from our mind. The very first one is craving. Craving or lust. There are some techniques that we can practice to overcome these negative thoughts from our mind. One of them is practicing generosity, sharing something with others. When we are greedy, when we practice generosity, we are able to overcome greed. And also, when our mind is lustful, Buddhism has explained a technique that the contemplating on impurity of our body parts. There are 32 body parts in our mind, such as hair, blood, skin, nails, like that. When we contemplate on them separately, one by one, we can understand the nature of our body. Then little by little, we can reduce lust from our mind. These are the techniques. And also the second one, anger or ill will or hatred. This is also one of the reasons that disturb our peace of mind. If we are angry with others, actually everything that we earned is useless, because our mind is polluted with anger. That is why Buddhism has explained on the path of liberation. At the very beginning, it is very important to practice loving kindness. The more we practice loving kindness, thinking thus, may all beings be well, happy and peaceful, the more we eradicate anger. The more we reduce anger, the more we can see the beauty of our mind. Our mind is so beautiful, but anger and lust disturb our peace of mind, our beauty of our mind. By practicing meditation and other techniques in Buddhism, we completely focus on reducing these negative thoughts, and also we develop positive thoughts too. We decorate our mind by practicing good deeds, good emotions, such as loving kindness, wisdom, mindfulness, sympathetic joy, equanimity. These are the positive thoughts that we can practice to decorate our mind. We do a lot of things to decorate. We decorate our body, our hair, our clothes, our house, our garden. We do everything for decoration, except our mind. We don't decorate our mind, but we decorate everything. Buddhism has explained the path how we decorate our mind. By practicing positive thoughts, by practicing generosity, by practicing loving kindness, by practicing mindfulness, by acquiring positive thoughts, we decorate our mind. The more we decorate our mind, the more our mind is peaceful and we are happy. That is why practicing loving kindness is one of the techniques that we can practice to overcome anger. We always think, may all beings be well, happy and peaceful. As the result of practicing loving kindness continuously, when we remember a person, when we meet a person, suddenly we think that person as our only son or daughter. If we have this high intention we can overcome more than 50% stress from our mind. When we drive on a street, if we are able to think the people who are around us like our children, how our mind is beautiful, then we can spend our life peacefully. That is why before we start our spiritual journey, we should practice loving kindness if we want to see the beauty of our life, beauty of our mind. And the third one, delusion. Delusion or ignorance. What is the delusion? What is the ignorance? Delusion means when we think something which happened in the past, our mind suddenly goes to past. Not only our mind goes to past, but our mind lives in the past experience, like still it is happening. For example, if someone has scolded you, if someone has blamed you, as soon as you remember that incident, you think still it is happening. A person can blame or scold you once. If you are ignorant, you are blamed again and again. You are scolded again and again. If we are mindful, we can remember that incident without anger. As soon as we remember that incident which happened in the past, we know very well, now it is not the real situation, now I read my mind. Now I am reading my mind. Then we are able to remember that incident without anger because of mindfulness. That is why Buddhism explains the importance of practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the best friend. Ignorance or delusion is the worst enemy. We always try to live with the best friend, which is mindfulness. Wherever, whenever we are away from mindfulness, it means we are away from happiness. That is why Buddhism always encourages us to practice mindfulness. Not only we live in the present moment, but when negative thoughts come to our mind, when even positive thoughts come to our mind, we understand that these things arise at the moment. These mental formations arise at the moment. We suddenly reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing of our mind. For example, if we go to a mirror, as soon as we go to a mirror, we know very well that reflection arises at the moment. Before we go to a mirror, our reflection was not there. It arises at the moment when we reach the mirror. Our all experiences are also like that. Our thoughts are impermanent. Our thoughts are not in our mind continuously. We create those thoughts at the moment according to our present mental condition. When we go to a mirror, our reflection was not waiting for us. It arises at the moment as soon as we reach the mirror. Like that. Our friends, our children, our goods, our physical body, our job, our vehicle are not in our mind permanently. We create them at the moment. When you remember your son, at the moment you have a son. At that time you have no mom, you have no dad, you have no even wife. When you remember your mom, at the moment you haven't even your physical body. You have only mom in your entire life. That is the absolute truth. But in conventional truth, we have everything. Even though we don't think them, we have a lot of things. But according to absolute truth, we have only one thing at once. The present thought is our entire life. If we are able to succeed our present thought with mindfulness and reflecting on impermanence, our entire life is successful. We have to do only one thing. We have to be patient at once at the present moment. A thought. if we can be patient, a present thought, then we have nothing to do more. But we listening to Dhamma, we practice a lot of good qualities, but in the present moment, present thought, we are not patient. That is why we are not successful. Mindfulness makes us remembering that be mindful at the present moment. Mindful always announces us that be mindful, be mindful. Our knowledge is important, but even though we have knowledge, if we are not mindful, our knowledge is useless. Therefore, mindfulness is more important than knowledge. But knowledge is important. Without knowledge, we have nothing to practice. Before we practice something, we have knowledge that what we practice, where we are going to, what the destination is. That is also very important. Here, if we are going to overcome delusion or ignorance, in one side, we should practice mindfulness with the awareness of our body and mind. On the other side, we reflect on impermanence, anicca, reflecting arising and ceasing of our body and mind. Then we have a real security, assurance. What is that? We don't depend on outside or inside. We completely depend on wisdom at the moment. This is the Buddhist path. And little by little, we can go forward. Except this advice, Buddha has explained other things, that how we succeed this immediate life. Even though some people don't believe their spiritual life, everyone needs to succeed this immediate life. That is why Buddhism has explained 4 qualities that we should develop to succeed in this immediate life. They are Uttana Sampada, the accomplishment of determined energy. We should work hard. We should study very well. That is the very first thing. The second one is Araka Sampada, watchfulness, the accomplishment of watchfulness. We have to protect the things that we earned hard. That is also very important. The third one, Kalyana Mittata, having good friends. We should have good friends who explain good activities, good examples for our life. Associating good friends. Fourth one is Samajivikata, balanced livelihood. Uttana Sampada, the accomplishment of determined energy, watchfulness, good friends, and balanced livelihood. Balanced livelihood means we should expend our money according to our income. Income and expenditure or expenses should be balanced. That is also important. Our income exceeds our expenditure, and our expenditure will not exceed our income. That is the skill that we should have. And here today we are going to discuss one of the main discourses in Buddhism, Jāta Sutta. You know, the interesting thing in Buddhism is when we are listening to Dhamma at the moment, that is also one of the techniques to purify our mind. Buddha has explained 4 techniques that we can eradicate our mind. They are listening to Dhamma. When we are listening to Dhamma, when you are listening to doctrines in Buddhism, at the moment your mind has no greed, no anger, no delusion. Your mind is like a flower, like a beautiful flower, like a very beautiful water. At the moment our mind is so pure and calm. Preaching Dhamma also one of the techniques of liberation. When I preach Dhamma, when we explain Dhamma, my mind is so pure and calm. That is also one of the entrances of liberation. Chanting Dhamma. When we chant Dhamma, discourses, with the meaning, with the understanding, that is also one of the techniques that we can eradicate negative thoughts from our mind. Chanting Dhamma and reflecting Dhamma. Not only when we are at the classroom, but wherever we can think, we can reflect on according to what we heard. That is also one of the techniques to eradicate negative thoughts from our mind. And also the fifth one, meditation, bhavana. Mostly people think that the only way to eradicate their negative thoughts is that sit in meditation, closing the eyes. Actually, that is only 20%. In Buddha's time, a lot of people, a lot of disciples attained enlightenment, not only then when they were closing eyes, but when they were opening eyes and reflecting on Dhamma. Sometimes when they were listening to Dhamma, they attained enlightenment. Therefore, listening to Dhamma also very important, if we are mindful and wise. Here, Jāta Sutta, it is one of the discourses which comes in Samyutta Nikaya. Samyutta Nikaya is a book in Buddhism. And Jāta means a person's name, a Brahmana's name. One day a Brahmana came to Buddha and respected the Buddha. Having a seat nearby the Buddha, he asked the question, very important question. He said a stanza, verse, with a question. He says, Anto Jāta, Bahi Jāta, Jātāya Jātitā Pada, Tantang Gotama Puchami, Ko Imang Vijataya Jātam. It is Pali verse. I'll explain in English. And he asks that Anto Jāta, Anta means inside, Jāta means knot or tangle. He says, Anto Jāta Bahi Jāta, a tangle or knot inside, a tangle outside. Jātāya Jātitā Pada. These people are entangled in a tangle. Tantang Gotama Puchami, I ask you this, O Gotama, Ko Imang Vijate Jātam, who can disentangle this tangle? What is the tangle? What is the meaning of tangle? It means problem. It means problem. He asks that people have problem inside and outside. How do we resolve? What is the solution for this problem? When we are alone, we have some mental problems. We are angry like that. When we associate with other people, we are struggling with them. We fight with them. Inside also we have problems. Outside also we have problems. Buddha has explained the gradual path, how we little by little overcome these internal and external problems, issues, or tangles. Okay? Then, can you understand the stanza? Okay? He asks, a tangle or knot inside, a tangle outside. These people are entangled in a tangle. I ask you this, O Gotama. Gotama means Buddha's name, Buddha's caste name. He asks that who can disentangle this tangle? It means he asks, how do we solve, overcome this problem? Then Buddha explained 3 verses, 3 stanzas. The very first one, Sīle patiṭṭhāya naro sapañño cittaṃ paññañca bhavayam Ātāpi nipako bhikkhu so imang vijate jatam. A man establishing virtue, discerning, developing mind and wisdom, a monk or a person enthusiastic, astute, he can untangle this tangle. Buddha says, if a person is wise, and also if he can practice mindful and insight meditation, samatha and vipassana, he can overcome this problem. Buddha has explained 3 disciplines here. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila means virtue or moral conduct, discipline in our speech and behavior. That is the very first step. Without discipline, we are unable to reach the inner peace. If always we blame others, if always we fight with others, if we steal, if we kill others, we have no inner peace. Therefore, very first, we should have good discipline. That is why Buddhism has enforced the 5 precepts: abstaining from taking life, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from false speech, abstaining from intoxicating drinks and drugs, causing heedlessness. These 5 things are very important. Abstaining from these 5 things is very important for inner peace. That is Sila. That belongs to Sila. Sila means virtue or moral conduct or discipline in our speech and behavior. And then Buddha says, Chittang Panyancha Bhavyam. Chitta means mind or consciousness. Panya means mental formations. Mind and mental formations are together. But in one side, we should develop mind. On the other side, we should develop mental formations of Panya or wisdom. How do we develop mind or consciousness? Purifying our mind from anger and greed. Purifying our mind from negative thoughts. On the other side, Panyancha means we should develop Panya or wisdom. How do we develop Panya or wisdom? Reflecting on impermanence. The more we practice, we reflect on impermanence, the more we reduce greed, anger and delusion.
How do you mean impermanence?
Yes, that is very important question. I will explain it. Okay? Buddha says, if someone can practice this path, he is able to untangle this tangle. All problems arise because of ignorance, greed, or anger. If someone can practice these 3 disciplines, virtue or moral conduct, samadhi, concentration or tranquility, and panya, wisdom. This is the path to overcome 3 defilements. The next stanza, okay, after I will explain in these 3 stanzas in short, I will explain your answer, okay? Then Buddha says, Yesam ragocha dosocha avijjacha virajita kinasava arahanto tesang vijatita jata. Those whose craving, anger and ignorance have faded away. Arahants means enlightened one. Their defilements ended. For them the tangles untangled. If someone can eradicate his mind from craving, anger and delusion completely, he is able to attain the enlightenment and he is able to overcome tangles. Finally, Buddha says, Yatta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati patigam rupa sanyacha ette sa chiddate jatam. Where nama, name, Name means, it is not just a name, but name means mental formations. Nama Rupa. Our all experiences can be included into two, Nama and Rupa. Nama means mental things, Rupa means physical things, materials, such as our body and mind. And Buddha says, here patigang rupa sanyacha ette sa chiddate jatam. Alone with contact and perception of form, totally cease without trace. That is where the tangle is untangled. Here it is very important to understand Nama and Rupa. We release Nama and Rupa, mind and body. What is that meaning? Do we make suicide? No. Release in our body and mind. What is the meaning of release in body and mind? After we experience something, if we are wise, we know very well, when we remember something, we know that those things have ceased already. Then our mind is not fixed in past experience. Now our past experience hasn't ceased. Still we are lifting. We have a very heavy weight. That person has blamed me. That person has neglected me. That form is very beautiful. My son has done these things. My neighbor has done these things to my son. Those things we are holding, we are catching, we are lifting those heavy weight. Buddha says us, release this weight. How do we release this weight? Reflecting on impermanence, we release. That means then we don't take previous experience as permanent. That is the way how we release our problems. And for that, Buddha has explained the path. The very important thing, your affection. Impermanence, understanding impermanence is the turning point. Understanding impermanence depends on understanding Paticcasamuppada, or the dependent origination, which is the heart of Buddhism. What is the meaning of impermanence? Impermanence and changing are different. Changing can be realized, can be understood by anyone. Now we are young, one day we are going to old age, one day we will die. Now this building is very beautiful, one day it will be destroyed. That is changing. Changing can be realized by everyone, it is not difficult. But impermanence is not like that. Impermanence has different meaning. What is that? Impermanence means not being occurred comes to occurrence, being occurred will not go to occurrence. If we have some experience at the moment, that experience didn't come to the present from the past. That present experience will not go to future from the present. Such as, like this sound. This sound arises at the moment. Before we heard it, it was not here. After you heard this sound, it didn't remain. It arises and ceases at the moment. Reflecting on this reality is impermanence. I is impermanent. What is the meaning of I is impermanent? This is not physical I. I means the ability of seeing. Ear in Buddhism means that the ability of hearing. And nose means in Buddhism the ability of smelling. That ability arises and ceases at the moment. This I arises at the moment. For example, now when you look at me, you are very pleasant to me. If I hit you, then when you look at me, what happens to your eye? Your eye is different. Because according to your mental condition, now you think this is a bad person. With that intention, if you look at me, your eye is different. I arises and ceases every moment according to our present mental condition. And that is the meaning of impermanence. Impermanence means our all experiences, our entire life. What is our entire life? Our entire life is 6 internal senses like eye, ear, nose, and 6 external objects like forms, smell, sounds, like that. The nature of these 6 internal senses and 6 external objects are impermanent. What is the meaning of impermanence? They are not permanent. They don't come continuously. Every moment these things arise and cease. That is the way how we reflect on impermanence or anicca in Buddhism. You know, the other meaning of that, the sound. Sound is this experience. This sound arises because of these reasons. Because of my fingers, because of my effort, because of my ears, because of my consciousness and present mental condition. This sound arises at the moment. Because of reason, sound arises, but sound doesn't belong to any reason. This sound doesn't belong to my fingers. This sound doesn't belong to my ears. This sound doesn't belong to even my consciousness. But without any reason, this experience doesn't arise. Because of reason, sound arises, but sound doesn't belong to any reason. That is the one of the meaning of impermanence. And when we look at something, when we see someone, I can get some experience. I can experience someone, but that experience doesn't belong to him. That doesn't belong to even my consciousness. That experience belongs to anything. It arises according to my present mental condition. When I think your good activities, I am happy with you, I am pleasant to you. If I remember your some mistake, then suddenly my mind changes, and then my experience also different. Like that. If we can understand this reality, actually we have no attachment or even detachment. Our mind is in equanimity. This is the way how we make an unshakable mind, balanced mind, equal mind. This is the equanimity. The highest quality of inner peace is that living in equanimity. It means we have no attachment or even detachment. As soon as we experience through our senses, suddenly we know that this experience arises and ceases at the moment. When you go to a mirror, you are very wise, you know very well, this reflection arises at the moment. And also you know very well, there is no person in the mirror. You never keep your comb to the mirror to comb your hair. You know very well the person is here. And also like that, when you experience something, you never blame others. You can criticize someone, please be aware of these things, you can advise, but you never add something to a person outside. This person is actually equal. When you look at him, you have an equal mind. When someone who is an enemy of him, and when he sees him, he sees that this is a bad person. When your mom sees you, mom is so happy. This is my elder son, very good son, he has good behavior. He is so happy. Actually, happy or bad people are not outside. We create those people according to our present mental condition. This is the path how we overcome suffering. This is the path how we overcome these tangles, problems, issues from our mind. Buddha has explained the gradual path, how we develop these things. Here, in very first stanza, there is a very special thing. Sile patittaya naro sapanyo chittang panyancha bhavayam atapi nipako bhikkhu soimam vijataye jatam. A man established in virtue, discerning, developing mind and wisdom, a monk or a person enthusiastic, astute, he can untangle this tangle. I want to explain you that the importance of wisdom. Here there are three words are very important. Sapanyo, discerning, panyan, wisdom, nipaka, astute. These three words are very important. These three words belong to wisdom in several stages. One of them is discerning. What's that? It means by born we should be wise. If we want to realize, practice and achieve results, we should be wise. That wisdom we should have by born. You have seen that there were some human beings by birth, they are stupid. They are unable to realize this Dhamma. And the very first one, that is why Buddha says, Panyavantasayan Dhammo, Nayan Dhammo, Duppanyasa. This Dhamma is for those who are wise, not for stupid or foolish. By birth, we should have some kind of wisdom. It means not the higher level wisdom. Like you people, we should be wise. The second one is developing mind and wisdom. We should develop wisdom according to what we have from our birth. We should develop it. And also among enthusiastic and astute, it means we have nipaka. The other word is that we have a proper understanding, proper ability to face the current society, current incident, current situation. The ability to face a problem, face a situation. These three things are very important. We should be wise by born, and also we should develop wisdom by practicing insight and samatha meditation. And also, when we listening to Dhamma, when we practice Dhamma, we should be wise. Especially when you are listening to Dhamma, you should be wise.
What is it, Dhamma?
Dhamma means teachings of the Buddha. Teachings of the Buddha, the doctrines in Buddhism. Dhamma means. Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, we say that triple gems, the very valuable things in Buddhism. Buddha means not only the physical body of the Buddha, Buddha's enlightenment, his understanding. Dhamma means what he taught. It means the world reality. Actually, Buddha, Dhamma, his teachings doesn't belong to him. He says very well that he realized the world reality as it is. This is not a creation of the Buddha. Dhamma is a discovery. It is a discovery.
Like math, it's like something you discover, it's not something you make up.
Yes, like, we discover water, oil, gem, some things. We can create water. We are unable to create gems or jewels. We can only discover in them, like that. Buddha also says, this message doesn't belong to even him. He is the person who discovered and who proclaimed this message to the world. That is why we respect him. Okay, Dhamma means the teachings that Buddha explained. It is a discovery. It is not a discovery of a God or any other being. It is not a message of another person. It is only a discovery done by a wise person. And also he says very well, we also can discover this message by our wisdom. He is only a teacher. He is not a savior. He says that he can't give us liberation. He is only a teacher. Going on the path is our duty. And also here, wisdom or discerning or astute. These three things belong to wisdom. Here, when we discuss wisdom or panya in Buddhism, we have a very special topic. What is that? Kalyana Mitta, associating good friends. Buddha says the main reason that helps us to achieve wisdom is that having a good friends. Who will explain this message? By birth, we should have some kind of wisdoms, but we should develop it with the helping of good friends. Here, associating good friends is a very important thing. It is like a rain which falls on the top of a mountain or rock. When rain falls on the top of the mountain, then everywhere it is spread and everyone can get benefits from the water. Like that, when we receive good association, when we meet good association, we can develop, we can inspire our wisdom. Here, Buddha says, Kalyana Mittata, Kalyana Sahayata, Kalyana Sampavankata. There are three words, very important. Kalyana Mittata, Kalyana Sahayata, Kalyana Sampavankata. Kalyana Mittata means we should have good friends. That is the first thing. Not only we should have good friends, but Kalyana Sahayata. Kalyana Sahayata means we should associate with them. Sometimes we meet good friends, but we neglect them. We don't care them. Then we miss them. We should have an ability to associate with them, and also we should be wise. We should have skills to catch them. We should have skills to associate with them. If we are failed, then we miss this good friendship. With our previous good actions, sometimes we receive good friends, but we are unable to recognize them. Then we have no their association. That is why Buddha says in Sinhala, Inda එක විහෙර විඳ විඳ දහම් මනහර සිඳ විඳ දුක් සසර අනේ දේවදත්ත නොදුට මොක්කුර. Devadatta was a reverend, is a monk, a disciple of the Buddha. He was at the same temple with the Buddha. He saw the Buddha every day, but he didn't associate with the Buddha. Therefore, he lost good association. Not only he didn't achieve enlightenment, but even he couldn't come to a blissful life. After he died, he fall into hell.
What was his name?
Devadatta, Reverend Devadatta. And that is why Kalyana Mittata, Kalyana Sahayata, we should have good friends. We should associate with them. Not only we associate with them, Kalyana Sampavankata. We should pay our attention what they say. Sometimes we have no good attention. We think that I know everything. I don't need to associate with them. I have read a lot of books. I know who them. Then I don't need you. I want to say what I know. I am not ready to what he knows. Then we miss some good friends. Sometimes we go very far finding good friends. Sometimes the real friend is nearby. Sometimes the real friend under the same roof. We are going far away finding good friends. Actually, that is why we should be wise. That is why. Kalyana mitrata, kalyana sahayata, kalyana sampavankata. We should have good friends, we should associate with them, and also we should pay our attention to listening to what they say. These three things are very important. When we have this association, we listening to Dhamma, we listening to how we develop wisdom. Through associating with good friends, we develop our wisdom. Buddha says there are 4 facts, 4 qualities that we should develop from the beginning to end of the path of liberation to develop our wisdom. They are. The very first one is associating good friends. The second one is listening to Dhamma. The third one is wise reflection, wise consideration for yoniso manasikara. Third one is practice, samatha and vipassana, tranquility and insight meditation. Associating good friends, listening to Dhamma, wise consideration and practice. These 4 things are very important from the beginning to end of the path of liberation. With these 4 things, we develop our wisdom. One of them is when we associate with good friends, first thing that we understand is that the karmic law. It means cause and effect, karma actions and results. When we do something with the volitional mind, volitional actions have results. If we do something with a wicked mind, physically, verbally or mentally, we will have negative results. When our mind is polluted, with a polluted mind, if we do something, the results are negative. Results are evil. If we do something with a pure mind, physically, verbally or mentally, results are fruitful. Results are wholesome. This understanding belongs to the understanding of the karmic law. Karma means actions and its consequences. Actions and its consequences. If mind is polluted, results are evil or bad. If mind is pure, results are fruitful, happiness. This understanding belongs to first level of wisdom. The second one, understanding the first one is karmic law, the second one is dependent origination. Dependent origination means, as I explained you, that the meaning of impermanence. I is impermanent, forms are impermanent, I consciousness is impermanent. It means everything arises and ceases at the moment. They are not permanent. Not being occurred comes to occurrence, being occurred will not go to occurrence. When this being, this happens. When this is not, this hasn't happened. With this understanding, especially we understand the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths. The main teaching in Buddhism, which consists with dependent origination, is that the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths means the nature of arising and ceasing of suffering. How suffering arises, how suffering ceases. Buddha has explained according to 4 steps how suffering arises, how we overcome suffering. The very first one is dukkha satya, the noble truth of suffering. The noble truth of suffering, dukkha satya. The second one is samudaya satya, the noble truth of the cause of suffering. Third one is nirodha satya, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Marga satya, the noble truth of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering. Dukkha satya, samudaya satya, nirodha satya, marga satya. Here, the very first one is dukkha satya. This is the place which is the turning point whether we go on the path of liberation or not. This is the place where we can see that whether we have received good association or not. This is the place that we can check whether we are fortunate or not. This is the place where we check our fortune. This is the place where we can check that whether we have done very excellent meritorious deeds and wishes in our previous lives. What is the dukkha satya, the noble truth of suffering? Yes, Buddha says, kāyikan dukkhaṃ cetasikan dukkhaṃ tapetva avasesaṃ dukkha satyam. If there are anything without physical suffering and mental suffering, that is the truth of suffering. Is there anything without physical suffering and mental suffering? Is there any suffering without physical suffering and mental suffering? Usually people say that no, actually there is something. I will explain it, okay? Buddha says, dukkha satya means kāyikan dukkhaṃ cetasikan dukkhaṃ tapetva avasesaṃ dukkha satyam. If there is something without physical suffering and mental suffering, that is the truth of suffering. What is that? It means very first experience that we receive through our senses. When we see something, when we hear something, when we listen to something, actually the very first experience, we have no words, we have no pictures, only a color. Color means not only particular color, just a color. Sounds means very first experience, we have no bird sounds, we have no Dhamma sounds, we have no songs of particular person. First experience, we have only a sound. That sound is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. That very first experience is neither good nor bad. That very first experience is neither physical pain nor mental pain. When we look at the first time, that first experience, I have no good Mr. Shant. The very first experience only a color. Then suddenly I compare with my previous experience. This is the person who helped me, who observed recession, who comes weekly, that I create everything mentally in the second experience. Very first experience, just experience, it is neither black nor white. It is neither evil or merit. It is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It is just experience. It is equal. It is just an experience. It is neither black nor good.
It just is.
Just an experience. That first experience is instant. It suddenly arises and ceases. The very first experience we receive as the result of our previous experience, previous actions. This is only a vipaka or result. It is not a new action. The very first experience is not a new action, new mental formation. It is just a result of our previous actions. That is the dukkha satya, the noble truth of suffering. That first experience should not be removed. That first experience should not be overcome. That first experience should not be reduced or eradicated. That very first experience only should be realized. Dukkha satyam pariññeyam. The reason is that that experience is same for everyone, for those who are common people, who are trained people, who are enlightened ones.
Is it the same or it's different depending on what
According to their previous karmas, it is different. But the very first experience is, according to his actions, it is same. It is not neither black nor white. It is not same with everyone. It is different from person to person. But that first experience is like a shadow. And also, for example, when someone sees something, for example, like, Reverend Losaka, when he begged, he didn't see anything in his bowl. But people saw that there were a lot of foods in his bowl. It is not same for two persons, but his first experience only a shadow. That first experience doesn't bring a suffering or happiness. That is why I mean that it is same. That is the thing why Reverend Losaka didn't suffer. But if ordinary people happen this situation, he might be sad. He might be sad. That first experience has no ability to bring us happiness or suffering. Happiness or suffering arises in the second experience, according to our present mental condition. And the very first experience is the noble truth of suffering. And also the other one is, next Buddha says, Kāyikan dukkhaṃ cetasikan dukkhaṃ dukkhaṃ dukkha saccāṃ. If we have some physical suffering or mental suffering, that is suffering and the noble truth of suffering as well. It is a big idea. Very first experience is, last day I gave you an example, vehicle. There are a lot of vehicles, like cars, vans, buses like that. Every car is a car, and every car is a vehicle. Every van is a van, every van is a vehicle. But not all vehicles are cars. Not all vehicles are buses. Not all vehicles are motorcycles. Like that, all suffering is a suffering. All suffering is the noble truth of suffering too. But all the noble truth of suffering don't belong to suffering. Why is that? Even Arahants have the noble truth of suffering. Even though he has the noble truth of suffering, he has no suffering. The second experience, he has no second suffering because he has eradicated his ignorance completely. He has realized the noble truth of suffering. Therefore, he doesn't go to the second step, the physical or mental sufferings. He stops in this level. He goes to another level. It is a very high level. That's the Jnanacharya, the behavior of wisdom. He lives in the behavior of wisdom. But we, who are ordinary people, live in the behavior of ignorance. That is why we meet some people, some things, some animals outside. According to our experience, we suffer, we are happy or unhappy. And if we understand the noble truth of suffering, then we understand the noble truth of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is inside. Some people may think that the cause of suffering is outside. Actually, the cause of suffering is not outside. The cause of suffering is inside. The attachment to our life, our ego. Buddha says, Nate kama yani chitrani loke. There are no lustful things of persons outside. The lust or greed is inside. If you are my son, I have no any lust. If there is another person, he may have some lust or desire about you. But you are not a thing which is lustful. Lust or compassion or loving kindness is here in my mind. And this is the noble truth of the cause of suffering. The third one, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Cessation not from outside things and persons. Cessation from our ego, from our attachment to our ego, self. That is why, other religious people, they remove everything. They remove their relatives, properties, children, finally they removed even their clothes. They thought that suffering arises because of outside persons and things. That is why they removed everything outside things. But still they are in the samsaric circle. Buddhism explains the importance of removing the attachment to our inside. If we remove the attachment to our inside, automatically we are like people who put off the switch of main switch. Main switch is here. Trip switch is here. When you off the trip switch, you don't need to off the heater, microwave, fridge, everything are put off like that. That is the cessation of suffering. Finally, Buddha says, Magga Satya, the noble truth of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering. Path, Chittang Panyancha Bhavayang. The Spencer says, Sile Patittaya Naro Sapanyo, Chittang Panyancha Bhavayang. This is the path. In short, Sila Samadhi Panya. In another way, Buddha says, the noble eightfold path, Aryatangamanga, there are 8 steps. In short, we can say, Sila Samadhi Panya, virtue, concentration, and wisdom, or Samatha Vidarsana, Chittang Panyancha Bhavayang, Samatha Bhavana and Vipassana Bhavana, concentration, meditation, and insight meditation. In short. And practicing this path, finally, Buddha says, we have to reflect on only things that arising and ceasing of 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates means the bottom level of our all experiences. Rupa, forms, Vedana, feelings, Sanya, perception, Sankhara, mental formations, Vijnana, consciousness. These 5 things cannot be divided. These 5 things arise together, they cease together. By reflecting on Dhamma, we realize these things, how they arise, how they cease. Then we know very well, whatever we experience through our 6 senses, it means in the bottom level, these 5 things arise, they immediately cease. If we can focus on these 5 grasping aggregates, then we have nothing to catch. We are nothing to attach or attachment or detachment. We have seen the truth. Every moment we create those things, they arise and cease at the moment. Anicca, dukkha, anatma. When we realize impermanence, we see dissatisfaction and also we realize selflessness too. Understanding impermanence, dissatisfaction and selflessness is the path to purity. The more we reflect on these 3 characteristics, the more we reduce delusion or ignorance. The more we reduce delusion, automatically, the more we overcome 5 hindrances or craving and anger, it means we can develop our peace of mind. For that, in one side, we should have good moral conduct, discipline in our speech and behavior. On the other side, we should have concentration. We should keep our attention in the present moment. We practice our mind. We should train our mind with mindfulness. And also on the other side, we should reflect on impermanence. We should practice mindful meditation. As the result of practicing this path, one day, as soon as we meet something, we experience something, we know very well this experience arises at the moment. It says in Buddhism, ditte dittamatam bhavisati. Whatever we see, it is only a see. Whatever we hear, it is only a sound, hearing. Then, Jāta nāmañca rūpañca asesaṁ uparujjati ettesa ciddate jatam. Wherever these mental and physical weights release, then we have released the suffering. We have released the very heavy weight. It means we have nothing to bring, we have nothing to lift, carry. And it means we are completely in mindfulness and wisdom. It means we are mindful and wise. Then we don't depend on anything or anyone outside. This is the freedom. This is the liberation. Then we don't need to depend on even the Buddha. Until we reach the destination, we should trust in what the Buddha taught. For example, if you go to a place never we have been to, until you reach the destination, you should be confident in your navigator, even your address, even your friends say what he said. After you reach the destination, you don't need to confident in what they say. That is your own experience. Like that, our experience after we achieve the result, enlightenment, we don't need to be confident in anyone or anything. That Buddha says, asaddo akatanyo. Asadda means then we have no more confidence in what the Buddha taught, because that is our own experience that we realize by ourselves. That is the real liberation. That is the real freedom, because we don't depend on anything or anyone outside, but we live in the ordinary society like a lotus flower that doesn't touch mud or water. Padmopamava, that is the example of lotus flower. Lotus flower grows, arises, and it comes out from mud and water. But it doesn't touch mud or water. We are also like that. We are living with the ordinary people. We can laugh with them. We can help them. We can live with them under the same roof. But we don't touch their defilements, their unwholesome mental thoughts. Because we have purified our mind completely from craving, anger, and delusion. Have any question? Today we had a lot of time. Okay?
Good question.
Yes.
Can you talk about the three
Disciplines.
No.
Characteristics.
The greed.
Yes, greed, anger, and delusion. There are synonyms.
Which one is fear? All of it.
Yes, fear.
Or worry? Or
Fear arises because of attachment. Tanhaya jayati soko, tanhaya jayati bayang, tanhaya vipamuttassa, natti soko kuto bayang. Fear arises because of attachment or craving. Suffering arises because of attachment. when we have no attachment, we have no fear, we have no suffering. All of them arise because of delusion. Delusion is the last cause, the main root, but the nearest reason of suffering and fear is that attachment. Fear arises because of your attachment. You have no any attachment, you have nothing to be feared. You have nothing to lust, then you have no fear. Fear arises because of you have something to catch. That is why fear arises. That is why suffering arises. Okay?
Is there a connection between equanimous and the first experience? Is there any similarity?
Actually, upekha, you mean upekha. Actually, upekha can be explained in various steps, various stages. Even some, stupid person, they are also in upekha. They have no responses. But final upekha is sankhara upekha. Seeing this reality, we become equanimity. That is the thing we should create. But this, the very first experience is neither black nor white. Actually, it is usefully in equanimity, but we catch according to our experience. That is why Buddha says, Vijnanam pabassanam. The very first experience, consciousness is very pure, like you mean equanimity. But we don't accept it because of our ignorance. The reason is that always we catch the second experience. We are not wise. We are not skillful that we can to live in the past experience. We don't focus on past experience. We suddenly focus on the present situation where we are in. When we drive on a street, we never look at our wheels of vehicle. We always look at front. When we go in steps, stairs, you never look at your feet. Always you look at front. When you do a flash light, you look at flashlight. But you are here. Your eyes there. Like that, we always, yes, as the second experience, but we are unable to live in the very previous experience. Very previous experience is, we can say it is equal, but it is different from person to person according to his understanding, according to his mindfulness. One day, we come to equanimity after we realize this reality with mindfulness and wisdom. Whenever we are in mindfulness and wisdom, at the moment, that experience is equal for me. Until we reach that destination, that is not equal for me. Thank you so much for your good attention. By the power of this spiritual energy, may our departed relatives also receive this spiritual energy. With that intention, let's share these merits with our departed relatives reciting the Jāta. Idam me ñātenang hotu sukhetā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātenang hotu sukhetā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātenang hotu sukhetā hontu ñātayo. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may guardian deities and angels also receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their divine energy May they keep their eye on you too. May they also attain the final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's share these merits with guardian deities and angels too. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu sāsanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu desanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu tvaṃ sada. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain the final bliss of liberation, Nibbana. Dukkham pantā ca niddukkha, bhayam pantā ca nibbayā, sokam pantā ca nissokā, hontu sambe pipānino. All the blessings be with you.